Real Madrid have 5 of the best attacking talents money and youth football could produce. And right now, most nights, they still don't look like the best team in the world. And the strangest thing about that sentence is how little that still surprises anyone. Kylian Mbappé, Vinícius Júnior, Jude Bellingham, Rodrygo, endrick. Individually, 5 nightmares for any defender in the world. Together, on paper, an attack nobody should be able to stop. So here's the question this video is actually about. It's not whether Real Madrid have enough talent. They clearly do. It's whether talent was ever the thing this team was missing. Because somewhere in assembling the most expensive attack in football history, Real Madrid may have quietly created a problem that no signing can fix. Not a personality problem. Not a tactics problem in the way people usually mean it. A problem of space. To understand why this team sometimes looks smaller than the sum of its parts, you have to understand what Real Madrid used to be built on. For most of the last decade, Real Madrid's front line worked like a machine with every gear in a different place. Cristiano Ronaldo attacked from the left. Karim Benzema dropped deeper, into pockets nobody else wanted. Gareth Bale stretched the right side until defenses had to choose which fire to put out first. Nobody occupied the same ground. That absence of overlap wasn't an accident. It was the entire design. The pitch stopped being just grass. It became a map, and everyone on it knew exactly which part belonged to them. Now, picture today's front line and ask yourself a simple question. Close your eyes. Where do you see them standing? Mbappe drifts left. Vinicius lives on the left. Rodrygo, given the freedom, drifts left too. Bellingham's most dangerous runs arrive through the left half space. Even Endrick, still learning the position, is already leaning toward that same channel. Nobody is standing in the wrong place. That is the twist. They are all standing in exactly the right place. The same right place. This is the part that gets missed in almost every conversation about this Real Madrid team. Fans call it chemistry. They call it ego. They call it a lack of understanding between teammates. But that's rarely where great teams actually break down. Look back at the team that won 5 Champions Leagues in 8 seasons, and most people remember the overhead kicks, the impossible comebacks, the trophies raised under the Bernabéu lights. Almost nobody remembers the 3 names quietly making all of it possible. Toni Kroos slowed the game down. Luka Modric accelerated it. Casemiro sat behind both of them, cleaning up whatever the other 2 left exposed. 3 completely different jobs, done by 3 players who never once fought over the same square meter of grass. Nobody called that magic at the time. It was structure, wearing magic's clothes. Football has never been short of superstars who didn't get along, who barely spoke off the pitch, who still went on to win everything together. Because on the grass, the geometry solved what personality never could. Roles were clear, space was clear, chemistry came second. That always does. Real Madrid may have quietly reversed that order, hoping 5 extraordinary careers would somehow organize themselves. To understand how that happened, you have to go back to where each of these players actually learned the game. Every elite footballer has a place on the pitch that feels like home, a few square meters where instinct takes over before thought does. For Vinicius, that home was the left touchline, 1 defender, 1 gap, 1 moment to destroy someone in isolation. For Mbappé, it was the space opening beside the last defender, the exact angle where his acceleration turns into fear. For Bellingham, it was arriving late into that same attacking corner, unnoticed until it's already too late. Different academies, different countries, different childhoods, the same map. That's not a coincidence you can coach away in 1 preseason. That's years of repetition turned into muscle memory. Ask a world-class footballer to abandon the space that made him world-class, and you're not asking him to change where he stands. You're asking him to unlearn who he is. People love comparing this squad to the original Galacticos, the era of Zidane, Figo, Beckham, Ronaldo, Nazario, all assembled under the same idea that the best players in the world would naturally add up to the best team in the world. The comparison sounds obvious. It also misses the point. The Galacticos weren't really a story about too many famous names. They were a warning about who does the unglamorous work while everyone else makes history. And Real Madrid answered that question eventually, just not immediately. Because modern recruitment doesn't really work off shirt numbers anymore. Clubs at this level scout profiles. Does he receive the ball between the lines? Does he attack space or wait for it? Does he stretch a defense or drift toward the ball everyone else is already chasing? Those habits matter more than the position printed on a team sheet, because habits don't disappear once the transfer is signed. They collide with whatever other habits are already standing there. And here's where we have to be honest about this Real Madrid team, because it would be easy to say the answer is simple. Move one of them. Sell one of them. Force the geometry to work by removing a piece. That would also be far too easy and probably wrong. Real Madrid have built an identity on proving that logic wrong before. The deeper truth is this. Real Madrid didn't collect 5 broken pieces. They collected 5 nearly identical answers to the same question, at a moment when the team actually needed different questions answered. Every signing made sense in isolation. Together, they created a version of a football team that looks less like 11 distinct instruments and more like 5 brilliant violins playing the exact same note. That is why the fix was never going to be about talent, and it was never really about effort either. It's about who this team is actually built around, because every great side eventually has to answer that question honestly. Not Cristiano Ronaldo's Madrid, not Guardiola's Manchester City underneath all that apparent freedom. Somebody has to become the center of gravity so everyone else knows which way to move. Real Madrid have the freedom part. What they're still searching for is the frame around it. Think about what made the Cristiano Ronaldo era feel so obvious. In hindsight, nobody argued about who that team was built around. When Cristiano drifted inside, Benzema quietly adjusted to cover the space he left. When Cristiano stayed high and central, Marcelo knew exactly which channel was his to attack. Nobody read that as sacrifice. They read it as clarity, and clarity removes hesitation. Football is decided in the fractions of a second. Players spend wondering whether a space belongs to them or to someone else. The best teams in history didn't have less talent competing for the ball. They had less doubt about who should touch it first. That's the real question sitting in front of José Mourinho right now, and it isn't really about tactics at all. For years, his greatest strength as a manager has been trust. The belief that world-class players will solve world-class problems on their own if you simply give them room to do it. That philosophy has won this club trophy after trophy. It just runs into a wall the moment a squad's problem isn't talent, but too much of the same kind of talent standing in the same place at once. Trust alone can't separate two overlapping instincts. Freedom alone can't decide which run happens first. So no, this isn't a story about a broken project, and it isn't a story that ends with someone getting sold this summer. This club has spent 100 years turning impossible nights into ordinary memories. History says bet against that at your own risk. Football also has a habit of solving problems that once looked permanent. Players evolve without anyone noticing until the season is already over. A winger quietly becomes a different kind of winger. A manager finds one adjustment that reorganizes 5 overlapping habits into place, almost by accident. Maybe the next manager draws a different map, and everyone wonders why nobody saw it sooner. That possibility hasn't gone anywhere. It just hasn't happened yet. But it is worth admitting what the real problem has actually been. Instead of pretending 5 superstars will eventually just figure it out on instinct alone, because you can buy the fastest winger in the world. You can sign the most complete young midfielder on the planet. You can convince the biggest name in football to wear your shirt. What you cannot buy, no matter how much money is behind the badge, is balance. You have to build that, on purpose. One relationship, one sacrifice, one decision repeated 1,000 times until it stops being a plan and starts being instinct. Real Madrid didn't collect too many superstars. They collected too many players who fell in love with exactly the same patch of grass. And that might be the most expensive coincidence in modern football, because that's the part every era of this club eventually has to relearn for itself. Trophies get remembered as moments, the goal, the celebration, the final whistle. But the thing that actually produces those moments is never a single name. It's a pattern, repeated so often it stops feeling like a decision and starts feeling like instinct. 5 careers, 5 different countries, one shared corner of the pitch they all learned to call home. Real Madrid's real challenge was never finding 5 extraordinary footballers. It was teaching them that greatness sometimes means creating space for somebody else, instead of simply finding it for yourself. If this changed how you see this Real Madrid team, subscribe for more of these breakdowns. Drop a like if it was worth your time, and let me know in the comments what you think the actual fix looks like. I will see you in the next one.